This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome everybody to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We are with an Avoca male lion. My name is Steve and you are on your own live African safari. Good afternoon everybody, welcome to Juma, welcome to the Sabi sands with our very sleepy and fat mohawk Avoca male. As I mentioned before, my name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined by BK and Uhuru on camera. Welcome to all of our SABC viewers. We're very excited to have you with us this afternoon. And we are live, we're interactive, and you can connect with us using the hashtag WildEarth. You can throw them in on the YouTube chat stream, or you can connect with us through Twitch. And if there are any kids out there, please feel free to send through questions for the kids to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. This afternoon, we are going to be sitting here for some time with not just this male lion, there is a second one behind us somewhere, and a whole pride of lions, the Umkuhuma pride, who emerged on Juma this morning, and they ate and devoured a sort of sub-adult to adult male impala. That is not, though, what we see in the belly of this lion. There is far more in the belly of this lion than an impala. And what we can surmise happened is that the two males were following the pride at some point. A kill was made. The males took control of the kill, and the pride moved off to make another kill of their own. And that is what we found. Because later on, after spending time with the lions at all the activity, these two very fat and overweight males emerged on the scene. And they are going to be resting. But it is not only myself this afternoon. We're coming to you from 6 locations. And we're going to send you over to Dylan in Tswalu Kalahari.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's another amazing day out here. As always, and I know I keep saying it, but I genuinely mean it. It is an absolute pleasure having you with us on these safaris. Any new viewers out there, our SABC viewers, it's brilliant having you with us, and it's just going to be an amazing afternoon out here. We've got some visitors down to the Waterhole already. Oh, by the way, Genre is working his magic on this camera. I'm always like amazed at just how well he gets this footage captured. And my name's Dylan, for those of you who haven't met us yet. So we got this gyro that's just been down here drinking. There was actually a group earlier here of about 15, 20 of them. They've moved off, but we'll go catch up with them just now. And then just across to the left as well, you'll see what appears to be a Sable cow and bull. No, I'm just kidding, it's 2 bulls. There's 2 big bulls drinking over there. And this is the same 2 that were down here, I think it was day before yesterday. And they were doing a bit of a territorial, there was a bit of a territorial thing going on there, dominance thing rather. But look at those magnificent animals. Those horns are just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So I've actually witnessed, and you see it frequently, you get these territorial. Hi Debbie, hi Safarians. Debbie says, what a gorgeous afternoon to be out on a safari like this, eh? And some of you may be very familiar with the animals that we see on these safaris, whether it's here at Tswalu or in other areas. Some of you may be completely unfamiliar with them, but some of the species may be completely unfamiliar to everyone. And please feel very, very welcome to ask us questions. If we don't know the answers, we will do our absolute best to find the answers for you. And this is about a learning thing together. It's not we have all the answers and no one else does. Feel free to comment, ask questions.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to andBeyond and Ngala. We've just got these beautiful zebras here, and it looks like they actually might be walking away from us, so we've come just in time. They were spending most of the day resting in the shade. My name is Eric. Behind camera, as always, is Owen, and there's his thumb. And like I say, welcome to andBeyond and Ngala. We've got some very, very cool things planned this afternoon. We are on our way towards a nice big waterhole where we saw some elephants this morning. Maybe we catch up with them. But ultimately, when it starts cooling down a little bit, we want to try head down towards one of our dry river systems and give tracking a leopard a go. We I wouldn't say almost found one, but we definitely saw some nice fresh tracks this morning, so we'd like to get back into that area and see if we can see some movement this afternoon. It bodes quite well for us. We were sitting here just before the show started, and these zebras were all resting in the shade, and now one by one they've started to get up and started to move away, which means that they're starting to feel comfortable in this temperature. So that might bode well for the rest of the afternoon. Maybe every animal that we see might be getting more and more active, which will be really nice and exciting. Apart from that, there are a couple of impalas who are hanging around. I wonder, you asking why the animals aren't really afraid of the vehicles. And it's a combination of knowing an animal's behavior, so trying not to, I guess, make ourselves look too aggressive towards it. So we approach them nice and slowly, show them that we're not harming them in any way, or not trying to harm them. But then also, once they start, over the last couple of years, they've started to understand that we pose no threat to them. We're just basically here to be around them. They don't know that we're looking for entertainment purposes, but basically it's just knowing animal behavior and understanding what they might or might not do if we get too close to them. So I think we're going to carry on driving. That Waterhole's just around the corner, and let's go see what we can find there.
Thanks, Eric. Welcome back live to the Sabi Sands, Djuma Private Game Reserve, where this is the second big male of the Avoca male coalition. Isn't he just fabulous? He's been waiting to roll over on his back like that for you, everybody. This is the male called Blondie, and the one we saw before is called Mohawk. There's a trio of 3 brothers, or related anyway. They come from the Timavati to the north, and they've been in this area now for close to 2 years, about 2 years. They are the dominant males of this area, with cubs in at least 2 prides that we know of. The Umkuhuma pride, who hopefully we'll be able to find for you shortly. They're here in the thickets. And then the Talamati pride, which is north of us in Bufosuk. That is where the 3rd male, dark mane, spends most of his time. Doesn't he just look so cuddly? No, everybody, don't let his behavior fool you. He is sleeping and enjoying a very full belly. Linda, you say, yay, the Avocas. Yay, indeed. I haven't seen these 2 boys on Juma for months. They haven't been on here for months, and so it's really nice to see them again. They've been traveling far and wide with the pride, who's been moving in quite large distances following buffalo. A pride of 7, 8 females. I'm not sure if the 8th one is with them today, and 9 little cubs. And these 2 big males, there's a lot of mouths to feed, and 1 impala is surely not going to do that. A marvelous specimen, wonderful to spend time with lions, but although they are extremely camouflaged in the long grass, he's enjoying a bit of sunshine, while the rest of the pride is hidden somewhere in the thickets.
We're just watching this giraffe feeding on this tree here. It's not an acacia. It's not one of the thorn trees. It's called a shepherd's tree. Super palatable. But while we're watching them feeding, I was given a question the other day by one of the viewers, but why is a giraffe's tongue blue? Why does it appear to be a blue color? And I actually didn't have the answer, but a good friend of mine actually sent me a really interesting bit of data on them that and we know the darker a color, it's probably likely to have a very high melanin content. And there's lots of reasons for that, but we can get onto the bird story there. But in terms of giraffe's tongue, apparently that darker color from the melanin, or caused by the melanin, actually aids in making the tongue nice and rubbery, which actually helps when they're feeding on very spiny plants. So that's a nice bit of information on the giraffe's tongue, for any of you who are wondering. And if you look at the important part of melanin plays in terms of bird feathers, especially your large migrant birds, your primary wing feathers, those very big ones, are often the black ones, very dark ones, and they actually need that for strength. Those feathers need to be very strong for long periods of sustained flight. But I mean, that's not the sole reason why you would have dark feathers. I mean, there's a whole lot of other reasons as well. But anyway, I'm just going to sit here a little bit longer, and I want to watch them feeding on this tree. What a setting. And it's just nice to see these big adult bulls, which is the one on the back left over there. And you can actually see the size difference. Yeah, that one that John is zooming in on there now, that boy. You can see the size difference compared to some of those other giraffe. The cows and the younger bulls. And these animals are standing over 5.5 meters tall. And there's still one. Haley's asked a lovely question there, and I really enjoy this question for a number of different reasons. Haley has asked, why do some giraffe live in groups and others don't? So why I like it is because, you know, when you look at a herd of impala, okay, they're small animals, and this has got a point here, I promise, but they're very small animals. So if that herd of impala was spread out, let's say over a square kilometer, even if you had 100 impala in thick bush over a square kilometer, they would not be able to see each other, and they would have to really be relying on things like hearing or maybe scent at best. But for all intents and purposes, they would be split up completely. A herd of giraffe, if you take 20 giraffe and you split them up over a square kilometer, they are all going to be in very close contact anyway, because they can see each other clearly. So that's the first thing. Just because you see an individual, unless you've scoured the landscape with binoculars and you cannot see another giraffe, it is very likely that there aren't other giraffe nearby, even if you only see one initially. In terms of the group associations, they do form very loose associations. So, for instance, we may get this whole group together now. There could be 20 or 30. I can't see further down now. But maybe in a week's time, all these big bulls have moved off. In fact, that big bull that walked through the frame earlier, that animal we actually recognized, and we saw him about 5 kilometers away down the road the other day. So he's moved away, he was by himself, he's moved up, joined this group, and he'll move off later. So you get these loose associations, and your big bulls are often by themselves.
Good afternoon, everybody. Look at this lovely elephant bull trying to hide from me this afternoon. It's just there near the Mulwati, which is our drive riverbed. Hi everyone, my name is Trishana. I've got Niels on camera this afternoon. We're very excited to have you all on board, especially our SABC viewers. And we are hoping that this beautiful elephant bull will come over to the dam that's just to the west of us. In fact, I'm on the dam wall, hoping that he'll walk up and give us quite a spectacular sight. Elephants in the water, whether it's drinking or playing, is just something very special. And this bull seems to be quite a gentle giant. Jackal, you say he's playing peekaboo? Jackal, I feel like he hasn't even noticed me, which I think is even a little bit more painful. He's very interested in some of the vegetation down there. And like I said, it's a dry riverbed, so a lot of the water that still is around would collect in the soil down there. So vegetation grows with a little bit more nutrients for longer. And that's what's really interesting to him particularly. And it's keeping him very occupied. You can see the ears are swinging every now and then. to try and keep himself a little cooler. Being a large animal, it's difficult for him to actually dissipate heat. So he uses his ears to help. So I'm going to wait here and see if he comes to drink, and I'm going to send you over to Clive.
Good afternoon and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera today we have Marcel. So, we have something quite interesting. Tswalu was just talking about how big elephants are, and these bones I've got next to me here are actually bones from an old elephant bull that died. Now this happened in front of Mountain Lodge, which is up on our left hand side, and it was two bulls that were fighting, and one of them got a tusk through him and ended up dying. But I wanted to show you just how big some of these and extremely heavy, how big some of these bones are. Like, look at that leg, comes up to halfway up my torso. It's really, really huge. And then on this side over here, I'm sure most of you can guess what that is, but it's one of the spinal columns, one of the vertebrae. Pretty amazing, hey? It's so huge, and it's heavy as well. And then the last one here, it's only half of it, but this is the elephant's pelvis. I think it broke off. It looks like it broke off here, and the other pelvis would have come out on the right hand side, but that is its pelvis, and you can actually see over here where the joint would have gone in. So that's pretty much his like hip, and the ball joint of the leg would have gotten straight into there and obviously been able to turn around. So that is pretty cool. The rest of the bones are all down this pathway down this side, but it's a little bit a little bit away from the car, and also there's a bit too many of them, and they're a bit too heavy to carry all the way up here. But I thought I had to show you these ones because they are really, really cool. Our plan for the afternoon, though, is to try and find some cheetah. We yesterday morning, for those of you who saw, we had a cheetah with two cubs that had killed an impala. They were not there this morning, but we're going to try and find them for you. And in the meantime, we're going to send you over to some giraffe.
We've got a beautiful scene at the Waterhole that we had elephants around this morning. Got these two male giraffe that are drinking, and look, they're looking across the water's edge because there's even more animals coming directly opposite them. So we've timed it really well. We've got these giraffe here, and directly opposite them is a nice big herd of wildebeest that have made their way literally within the last second or two to come down and have something to drink. And just behind the wildebeest is an impala. We timed it really well this afternoon. Giles giraffe have got, I guess in this area, the only predator that they need to really worry about on a regular basis are lions. And even then, it's a very difficult thing for a lion to go after because they are so big, and they've got big, powerful legs that can deliver a very, very severe kick. And so if there were lions in this area, you'll probably find that something along those wildebeest and that impala would be slightly more appealing for them because they're easier to catch. But it's not uncommon, and these giraffe, when they're drinking like this, is when they're most vulnerable. And so this is when they'll be very, very vulnerable to an attack by lions. And that's why you'll see they won't really spend too much time, and they're very jittery. So if one moves, that other one, even though it hadn't really finished drinking properly, quickly shot its head up to make sure there weren't any lions around. And there's that impala there's just coming down to drink now. So literally 3 mammal species drinking at exactly the same time. This is a waterhole that we usually have a hippo in, and I think it's probably just hiding behind one of these bushes somewhere in front of us, trying to get out of the wind. But also just look at how quick it took for these wildebeest to drink. They've come down, they've spent less than 2 minutes here, and they're already making their way back away from the waterhole. And they don't want to hang around too much because they consider it as a dangerous area. There's lots of potential predators that are hanging around, and we mentioned lions. There could even be that leopard that we're looking for around here, and so it's not a good place to be. So it looks like they've finished their drink and they're slowly moving away from the water's edge, and I think we're probably going to do the same. We're about 5 minutes away from the riverbed, and we'll probably head down in that direction to try and find a leopard.
Zoom into the eye. Hey everyone, I think we just discovered that our Ellie bull here is actually catching a bit of a nap. It's tough to see the eyes when I was looking with my binos. The eyes were closed. Now they'll catch naps like this when they're standing up. Just gorgeous. I was hoping that he would come out to drink so our SABC audience would be able to see him in all his glory. But it appears that naps are more important. I can understand. He's been in this position for at least 10 minutes. We're so sure he would start walking out. It appears that our bull is now sleeping. Yes, they do sleep standing up sometimes. Lots of very interesting things about elephants. And remember, if you have any questions about elephants, especially about this gorgeous bull, please do chat to us. We love it when you guys send questions and comments. You can use the hashtag WildEarth and send those through, because remember, this is happening right now live across 5 different locations in South Africa. So as I'm sitting here in my game drive vehicle, this is happening right here. Victoria, you'd like to know how long an elephant will sleep for. That's a really... Oh, sorry, I was just interrupted by a tail spurfowl screaming its way through our sighting. That's a really cool question, because there's different kind of ways in which they sleep. So at the moment, this bull is catching a bit of a nap, and he can stay this way because of a very special mechanism called a stay apparatus, which is a collection of tendons and muscles in the legs that allows him to stay, as the name implies, while he falls asleep. This he will only do for a few minutes, generally not more than an hour. They can do this for generally about 20 minutes, but they're not getting the kind of sleep that they require in order for their body and their brain to function properly. In order to do that, they need REM sleep, and they need to lie down in order to get REM sleep. So you can see elephants standing up and sleeping or lying down and sleeping. But I'm going to send you over to something that is lying down for now.
Well, thanks, Trish. This lion has barely moved since your last with us, everybody. His belly is full, not as full as his brother over there, but his belly is very, very full. Lions can eat, some people say, 25% of their weight. And that's an interesting fact, because this guy weighs 200 kilograms plus. I would probably guesstimate him to be closer to 220 kilograms. Obviously, it's very difficult to get a gentleman like this to stand on a scale, but it is enormous. Can you imagine being hit by something that weighs 200 kilograms? The biggest rugby players we see around, biggest, are like 130. And they don't move around the park nearly as fast as a lion does. So you can imagine the bulk. And a big boy like this, two of them hanging around with the pride, do a lot of sleeping. Sam, you want to know what a lion smells like? Sam, lions don't smell very nice at all. They actually, all predators have got this very, very rancid, death-like smell. I actually was tracking them this morning and came to a point where they'd been sleeping. And the smell was actually overwhelming. And it is one of the reasons why large cats, lions, leopards, will often roll in the dung of other animals, buffalo and elephant and rhino, to try and mask that smell. Because their smell, being quite rancid and quite death-like, gives away their sort of presence. And if an animal smells a lion's approach, they will react to it. So often they'll try and mask their smell, but it's very difficult. Lions are not very hygienic. They're very dirty. And if you ever did happen to handle a lion, for whatever reason, scientists do research on lions, on cats, it's very important to use gloves because they are riddled with parasites and infectious diseases that you quite easily could contract, especially parasitic worms and the like. So if you do ever find yourself assisting a vet in whatever work they might be doing, make sure you have some gloves and you wash your hands. And we're going to sit here and hopefully get a visual of the rest of the pride.
No, he's running. We're just taking a slow amble along. I'm hoping to actually try. It's going to be a long shot. I'm trying to spot an African wildcat. It's going to be very, very, very difficult. They are super elusive little animals. But you never know. This is a good time. The temperature's going down now. So this is the kind of time that they would start becoming active and moving around. Actually got a oryx on the left here. Gemsbok on the right. Military left. It's what we call a gemsbok in Afrikaans, and a oryx is the generally accepted name for it. And he's gone. Well done, Smith. Good timing. I played that one perfectly. But yeah, so these little African wildcats, they look like domestic cats. They small little guys like that. They stand about that high, and we're gonna have to be super sharp to find them. But we'll keep on trying and keep our fingers crossed.
African wildcats are gorgeous and very rare to see, so I hope that Dylan does have some luck. Believe it or not, my bull is still napping. But they can come out of the state just like that. That was me clicking my fingers, by the way. And he'll just be up and about and emerge from those bushes, and it will be absolutely beautiful sight. And I think my patience pants are sufficient to wait for him to emerge. You can see how well this grey color merges with the bush. You can barely see him because of the grayness of the bush. Doesn't really go brown, but rather kind of peels away and this very pale color is revealed, and that's just perfect for an elephant. And if you were driving past here, you would never spot him. The only reason I did is because I saw he's behind from the riverbed, and I thought that this might be a better angle. Even as they move through the bush, you'd think these massive, heavy creatures would make a lot of noise, but they don't. They're super soft and they have lots of cushioning under their feet. Amazing. Snoozy indeed, but definitely, I think, not as snoozy as some lions are.
Quite the afternoon indeed. Well, the wind has picked up. We've managed to find a couple of the lionesses, and there's a cub just on the left there. Here we go. Hello, little one. Now, the Umkuhuma pride, as I said, there used to be 9 females. There's 8 last I was here. Well, there were 7 last I was here, and 1 was missing. I think I haven't counted today. I haven't managed to. They've all been hiding in the long grass, but they've done quite well with the cubs. There were 2 boys born in June of last year, and then there was a few more litters in August, September of 3 and 4. One of those individuals didn't make it, and then another litter of 3, and only 1 made it. So we've got a whole new generation of lions here. 9 little cubs are still going strong since January, and that's very exciting because we lost an individual last year by the name of Nana. She was the oldest lioness in the pride, and you need this recruitment of animals, of lions coming through to sustain the pride's growth, and a lot of these cubs are boys. So we need to have girls to sort of supplement what's been lost, because the boys after 2-3 years will be pushed away, as is the natural state in lion prides. But with the wind blowing like this, it is possible that these lions might get up and start moving. They're not as full as the 2 males, so we might see them move. They're very exciting if they do. Beautiful afternoon light, and seeing a female grooming like this is always a positive sign, because they often groom, get up and do some stretches, toilet break, and then start moving. We're not too... Hello, little one. Not too far away from the closest watering point. That might be the next port of call, and if it does happen, we will follow them there. But for now, they're still quite snoozy in the afternoon, and we're going to stay right here with them. Hello everybody, that's all of our wonderful viewers. Wonderful windy afternoon here in Juma with the Umkuhuma pride. It's wonderful to be spending time with them as always. So happy to have all 9 cubs still together. It was quite tragic when we heard of Chella's loss, but it is what happens in the lion world, I'm afraid. It was a tough world being a predator. It was a tough world being an animal in the wilderness. But that toughness is what moves forward in the population. Oh, hello, little pretty one. Hello, beautiful lions. Such dark amber eyes on some of them, aren't there? I wonder if we could actually tell who Amber Eyes' cubs are by the eyes, because some of them really do have those dark chocolate eyes, which is so special to see. Hello, cute one. It is quite positive, though, seeing them all getting a little bit more active. I haven't seen all of them now. There's still a lioness off to our left, ensconced in the bush, some more in front of us. Haven't moved far from this morning, which is what expected. Welcome back live to Djuma Private Game Reserve, everybody. We're getting some wonderful views of some of the cubs lying up in this wonderful golden light. They're trying to push the snooze button and let their day drag on a bit longer so they can catch up some more sleep. But the wind is picked up, as you can tell, with the grass moving around their heads. And so it's possible, as I said before, they might get up soon. But yes, they to blend in quite nicely, don't they? On our way back in, I had to be very careful on our movement here because there are cubs lying in the grass, and the pride's very relaxed, and they're a very relaxed pride to vehicles. And so they don't really move away. And so they're sleeping in the grass, and if you don't pay too much attention, you could potentially get a bit too close to them and give them a fright. So it's obviously not what we want to do. We want to view them in their natural state, and there it is. Cubs and lionesses slowly waking up and started to get ready for the afternoon. But it sounds like Dylan has got a standout bird. I wonder which one he's got.
Okay, for those of you that are keen on birds, watch. Oh, we just got a kill. Oh, it dropped it. Oh, get it. He's going to get it. Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? How awesome was that? Yes, that was fantastic, man. Genre, good job. You got that. Yes, what a winner. That was unreal. So that bird, for those of you who enjoy birding, is called a common fiscal. It used to be known as a fiscal shrike. They changed bird names they changed bird names. But he obviously saw something, so they hunt from a perch normally, went down, grabbed, and then the thing actually got away from him, and that's why he was doing that, hovering there. So that was beautiful to see. What I actually meant to point out to you just before it took off like that was they got this beautiful white eye stripe. That is not typical. Most of you that'll know this bird from other areas of South Africa or Southern Africa will see it's actually perching further away down to the right there now. It's quite far. We'll see if we can get it. We're going to sit dead still because otherwise Genre is going to beat us like a red-headed stepchild. Yeah, you've got it there. You'll see him sitting there. But most of you that'll know this bird from other areas of South Africa would actually recognize, if you look carefully, you'll see that it doesn't have these white eye stripes. So this is what we call the Western race. It's the same species. It's nothing different. It's just a different form of the bird. Ananda says that was awesome to see. Totally right. I mean, it's little things like that you can't predict. You can't, there's no ways we can say, okay, we're going to sit in this, we're going to watch this bird catch something. It's, the likelihood is there, but you really just got to spend time, and to be able to stop like that, and then suddenly it's doing it. That doesn't happen often. So that was brilliant to see. It's actually caught something there now. Sorry, Genre, I'm really messing you around. But it's on that same bush on the left-hand side. It was actually pulling something around. Okay, there we go. Yeah, if you're still with us, so it actually caught something. So we have got a kill, and these birds, what they sometimes do, and I'm wondering if it'll actually do it now, they sometimes impale their prey on spiny bushes. So where it's got thorns or spines, or even just very sharp twigs, not thorns or spines, also sharp twigs. And there are differences there, just out of interest. But so I was hoping we might actually see it do that. So if it does that and flies away, then we'll walk close and we'll go have a look later. But how's that? So we got a kill this afternoon. So I think we're just going to pack up and go home now. Kidding.
Well done, Dylan. Great work on that kill. We also thought we would do a little bit of birding, and I think it's still quite windy and it's quite hot, so these mammals are spending quite a lot of time resting. We're not seeing the action that I was hoping to have so early on. And this is a bird that we typically find in this nice short grass. The one on the left, that is. I'm not sure about the one on the right. We'll have to see if we can get a closer look at it. But as it puts its head down, see it's got that white ring. and the black top on the head with the very, very bright red legs and bright bill. It's called a crowned lapwing. And the bird, I think to the left, might be a bit far for us to see it properly, but it's some sort of pipit. With those little pipits, it's sometimes quite tricky, but there are more birds, a few that are a little bit closer around this nice open area. There is that one there that's just come into frame. It looks black, but once we get zoomed into it, especially in this light, look at the colors as it moves its body. The beautiful shine of the Burchell starling. And so Burchell starling has got that very long tail. It's got a black eye and quite a, we call it an ear covert. So basically it's like a big semicircle from the ear out towards the temple of the bird. And that's very, very dark. So always a good way to identify a Burchell starling. We do have one more species, slightly stuck in bed. For me, it's not only a birding Monday, it's a birding every day. I would love to bird all day, every day. It's so cool. And this is, I mean, look at the activity that we're seeing here. We've just seen 2 species or 3 species, including that pipit. There's another one over there, that's a blacksmith lapwing. So without even really trying, we've got 3 very, very active birds that are all feeding. And the only mammal that we can see is an impala, which is right over there on the left. And look what it's doing. It's in the shade, so it's trying to shelter itself from the sun, and it's also trying to shelter itself from the wind. And so most of the mammals at this time of day are probably going to be doing exactly this, especially animals that depend on their hearing and their smell. And this wind distorts a lot of noises and a lot of smells that they get, so they won't be able to pinpoint exactly where that incoming leopard might be. And so the safest thing to do is just try and find a place where it's as sheltered as possible, and that will hopefully try and reduce the risk of not being able to smell or hear. I wonder, these animals definitely in this area do have enough water. I mean, it's very typical for us to go through a dry patch at this time of year. We've got 3 really nice big water holes that these animals will depend on, and so they'll move from one water hole to another. And we've got, I mean, that water hole that we've just left was almost completely dry at the beginning of the year, and it's now the fullest that it's been in almost 26 years. And so that's going to carry us right through until the next rainy season, which should start in November, December time. So we are going to, I think we've seen as many of the bird species that we can find here. So myself and Owen are going to keep driving, and whilst we're driving, still looking for this leopard, we'll send you across to Trish.
It has woken up, but like everybody who wakes up after a nap, is a bit groggy. And he's obviously decided to turn around because he's not exactly thirsty. So now we're back in the riverbed. He's starting to move about. I want you to listen as he walks and he breaks little branches. Oh, glorious, glorious. He's made it to the top of the ridge. It's quite comical to watch elephants walk uphill. Now you're directly behind that bush. Yes! Come out, everyone wants to see you. Definitely playing hard to get. Oh, there we go. Amazing. Now he's going to go to the water. I can't wait to watch him.
Hello everybody, we've just moved forward slightly to give space to somebody else, and there's actually a bit of view of our scruffy little lions. And the cubs are starting to get a little bit more active, which is awesome. That one anyway is. The two in front of it, look at them, little cuddle puddle. Oh, look how cute that is. Who doesn't like a good snuggle? Tell me. I mean, we all do, don't we? And it's important for lions to do things like this. They scratch each other, beat each other, fight each other. They have to reaffirm those social bonds later on. And they do that through grooming and cuddles. Might hear some other voices. We're not the only ones in the sighting at the moment. Have not been able to get a tally of how many are here. But this morning I definitely counted 7 adult lionesses and 9 cubs. Welcome back live to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where we are still here with the Umkuhuma pride, a pride that hasn't been on the property that often of late, but a wonderful surprise this morning to hear the noises. We heard some sounds from camp. We weren't quite sure what it was. It was definitely a growling, and then we picked up some tracks and managed to find the pride enjoying themselves some breakfast. These little cubs are very, very cute, having a little cuddle session right now. There we go. There's 2 of them snuggled up nice and close. Tom, you want to know how far away you can hear a lion call? Well, the lion roar, a territorial call, is said to be heard from 8 kilometers away. But now, bear in mind, different times of year, forgive the noise of other vehicles, we have another vehicle in the sighting, but at different times of year we'll have different vegetation density, which means a call can go a little bit further in the winter months when the vegetation is less. And also ambient pressure or temperature, the pressure on the air, can also push a call a little bit further. So that's why lions and predators call at night. It goes so much further. But the growl that we heard must have traveled about a kilometer or so. And that's what we heard. And we did concentric circles until we finally picked them up. But 8 kilometers is far. It's very far. And that is the territorial call. And Juma actually means the roar of the lion. Juma. Okay, we're going to send you back over to Tswalu Kalahari, back over to Dylan, who's found an ostrich.
Oh, so we got some ostriches down here, 2 males and 2 females. The males are the 2 in the front, the very dark ones, the black ones. The females are the ones at the back. But I just heard one of our colleagues was chatting about the name Juma, that means the roar of the lion. And it's got some kind of bearing on ostriches, where the sound that an ostrich makes is vaguely like this. And from a distance, that can, at night, it can actually sound like lions roaring. So I've had that many times. Oh, lions, but it's actually ostriches. So yeah, that's just speaking about the name Juma and lions roaring and linking it to ostriches. It's always quite fun. I like those little, and there they go, somewhere in there. Somewhere on the African savannas, there's ostriches walking. But amazing birds that they've got such a prehistoric look to them. Monique says it's good to see ostriches on the move. It really is. And it's also nice to see these little aggregations of them. They're starting to group now, and what you typically get is you'll get a dominant male and female, and so they actually, that hen, that dominant female, she'll actually allow other ostriches, the other females, to actually lay their eggs in her nest as well, which is kind of counterintuitive in some ways. I say, well, why must I look after all your eggs? But remember, she starts the nest, so her eggs are in the center, and the other hens lay their eggs around her, so her eggs have got less chance of being predated or getting cold than the other hens. So there's actually quite a good strategy there.
We've just dropped down into the river and we found one of these elephants, which is really cool. And look what it's doing. It's in a big hole that it's been digging, or not it, but elephants have been digging over the course of the winter time. And what it's doing is just trying to dig for water. But I always find it so fascinating how they choose the cleanest water possible. So they've got this hole, which is obviously the sand is filtering through as much of the clean water as possible, but literally less than 10 meters away from it is this perfectly available water source on the surface. But it's decided not to drink it because it might just be, it's quite old water, so it might be getting stagnant, doesn't taste nice, and so this elephant would much prefer to use this beautiful hole that a lot of elephants have been using over time. And if you look on the ground around it, there's just so much elephant dung. It just shows you how much movement elephants have been coming into this area, especially to drink. And surprisingly quite good. If that hole might be about half a meter, and it will get a couple of liters of water at a time. Shelly, its toenails definitely help it dig, and they've got I always get this wrong, I think it's 4 toenails at the front and then 5 toenails at the back, and you don't see them at all very often. This one's moving off now actually, but the toenails are very, very hard, and so they use it for digging not only in soft sand like this, but in hard ground to try and get to some roots or whatever. They'll use those toenails to drink. To dig, not to drink. See, it's got a bit of a fright by that bird. I think the wind might have freaked it out. Its ears went out. It almost shook its head in frustration at that bird, and now it's retreating into the dense bushes like that. And that was a quick change in behavior. And elephants is one of those animals that depend on their hearing and their smell. And so they would much prefer to be in an area where it's nice and dense and out of the wind, where they can hear and smell a lot better. And so it was quite a nice little short view of that elephant. It seems like it has disappeared off into the bushes, so we won't see it again. But always nice, especially to come past this little water hole here. And it's almost the end of our time with the SABC, and thanks everyone who was here to join and watch. And just a reminder that the show does carry on for another 2 hours at WildEarth on YouTube, so feel free to switch over and have a look. And it's certainly been an action-packed afternoon. We've got lions, we've had zebras, we've had giraffe, ostriches, a variety of birds. We've got a nice little bird to end the show. It's a green pigeon. And so thanks all for joining, and remember, come and join us on your next safari. We'll be here, same place, same time tomorrow.
Hi everyone, our elephant has finally come out in all its glory. Oh, not sure if you heard that, but there was definitely more than we bargained for. A couple of extra sounds emanating from our bull here. So careful, this elephant is so careful and so gentle, and I'm just enjoying watching him so much. So comfortable with us. Just gorgeous. So remember guys, questions and comments using the hashtag WildEarth or the YouTube chat stream with @FC or Twitch. Whatever you like, and chat to us. Look at those eyes, they're kind of half open. Such a gentle giant. Not once has he given us a look of why are you following me or anything like that. Not a head shake. Nothing at all. It's absolutely peaceful. Always amazes me how this large creature can move, and it's just so silent. Monique, you say what a lovely elephant. I'm gonna tell the elephant, Monique. Beautiful Ellie Bull, Monique says that you're lovely. I think it appreciates the comment, Monique. It amazes me, and I feel that this is something that I've just seen and observed, that all the elephants, really big cows and big bulls, they seem to be so deliberate in their movements and so careful. Middle-aged elephants, or elephants in their teens to 20s, they also can be that way, but they're also a little bit they can be excitable as well. Not to say that this bull wouldn't become excitable or aggressive if he's in a situation that calls for it. And the youngsters are still trying to figure out themselves and their body and their space and where they fit in. And there's just so much wisdom and care as the elephants get older. And I've just felt that from me spending time with them. Each little thing that they pick up is so careful. It's awesome. Anyway, I think we're going to leave this guy to go about his business in his calm and peaceful Zen way, and I'm going to send you over to somebody else who is like an elephant, very wise, but a little more excitable.
So here we've got white-browed sparrow weaver nests. These beautiful, and I'm going to show you one up close just now, but they're often scattered on these trees. A lot of people say southwestern side of the trees, so that's one way of finding direction if you're out here, or you can use your compass if you have one. But I'm not entirely taken by that way of thinking in terms of, if you look at this tree, we've got nests scattered right from the west, across to the south, and right onto the east. And in fact, there's even one on the northeastern side of that tree. So if you're out lost in the Kalahari and you want to use those nests to find direction, feel very welcome to, but I wouldn't be doing it. But we actually found one of those nests that had blown off the tree. It was actually lying on the opposite side of the road. And here we've got it here. And it's really, I'm really glad that it actually did blow off. There's nothing in it. They're not breeding now, so you don't have to worry it didn't impact on anyone. But what's really unique about these nests is they actually have two entrances. So they've got an entrance there. Okay, and then on the other side, there's the other entrance. Okay, so it's actually, these nests are completely hollow. You go right through like that. And the idea is that a predator, and this is actually the primary entrance on this side, by the way. The idea is that a predator comes in. If there's anyone roosting inside here, the adults, dunk, they can just slip out the back. In the breeding season, they'll take one of these nests, and then they'll actually close up the end. And then they'll use this as the nesting chamber. And it's just that one pair that breeds. And they also termed what we know as cooperative breeders, so all the other little ones will help, or the youngsters from the previous brood will actually help raise the next lot of chicks, or provision them. So there's some fun stuff going on there. A couple of interesting things about this nest. This grass that they're using is called silky bushman's grass, and it is incredibly soft, very silky. And I think, and we can show you other nests like this later, I think that you could potentially use this nest. Jenna says it's awesome, and it really is awesome. These are funky, funky, funky nests. But I reckon you could actually use, in some sense, you can use these nests as a rough proxy for habitat quality. Because what I've seen these birds using, like when they're building the nests like this, and it's a lot of silky bushman grass, it's beautiful, because they obviously need to find that grass in order to build it. But there's other areas where you can actually where they actually use completely different nesting material, very twiggy, hard bits. And the genus there that they're using in some areas is what we call Senecio. It's actually like a very weedy little herby plant. But anyhow, so they can adjust the different kind of material that they nest with. So they're not fixated on having to use one. But these nest good quality grass. But they've also, then they'll line it with feathers in the nesting season, which they don't have in here. But here's actually an ostrich feather. They've actually used an old part of an ostrich feather. Small ostrich feather, but an ostrich feather nonetheless. Cool. Put you back in there, I'll see if I can.
Well, everybody, our lions are up, looking around. Welcome back to Juma. Not sure what's gotten them, but the wind is coming from our left-hand side, and that is where the male lions are as well. And one of the males moved, and it got all the cubs a little bit anxious. They all had their heads up. They're all looking at the male lions, trying to, I don't know, piece together what's going on with them. I suppose you would if you had these big powerhouses hanging out. You're going to make sure they're always in the right mood. And it's always funny when you see the big males hanging around nearby, how the cubs will sometimes tentatively go closer and try and bug them a bit. But they learn their place. They know that the big males aren't really to be trifled with. Doesn't mean they're not curious. You know that toy you're not supposed to play with? That is exactly it. Hello, Lolette. Well, the lions you're looking at now, apart from that one sort of second on the right and the one bottom right, those are females. The lionesses don't get manes, but these little youngsters, males don't generally develop a mane for the first 1.5 to 2 years. You start seeing a little bit of extra fur growing on the neck. But it's also genetic and hereditary. So some males will get bigger, darker manes than others. And there's some school of thought that believes that the testosterone that's sort of generated during battle and during competition with male lions actually boosts the mane and creates more mane development. Obviously, that's also dependent on whether that lion has the genetic variation to develop a big mane. It is possible every now and again to have male lions without the mane. Obviously, it is an advantage. Manes serve many different purposes. One of them is intimidation. A big, dark, thick-set male lion's mane is more intimidating than a smaller male's mane that doesn't show him to be big and dominant. So it can avoid conflict straight away, whereas a smaller maned individual would have to fight every time. Also, the mane shows or creates a protection against the neck and body when males fight. 200 kilogram odd animals battling it out. The neck is a very, very dangerous area to get injured. There we go, you see she's got a mark on her neck. So the cushioning created by the mane protects them in battle, protects the vital jugular, and also has that element of being quite intimidating. You see a big, burly, dark, thick-set mane. It's a little bit more intimidating than a male lion that's walking around without a mane who looks like a female. Hyenas don't mess with male lions. Doesn't matter where you come from. Maybe in massive packs they will, but generally they avoid them. But they will give lionesses a very hard time. Here in Juma, though, the hyenas stay well clear of these lions. And Jenna, ouchies, yeah, it's an injury. I've seen far worse. Lions have got the unbelievable ability to heal some of the most atrocious looking wounds. Wounds that would surely kill you and I. Lions just walk it off. Well, it is very exciting that they are getting to a little bit more of a movable state. One lioness was lying behind us and she made a little call, that little contact call, and all the cubs jumped up, ran behind our car and greeted her, heads rubbing, meowing, making all those wonderful lion-like sounds. Oh, I love you, Mum. And then they came back and started bothering the other lionesses. They're basically saying, we've had enough sleeping now. Can we get up and get a move on with the day? Those of you with kids at home will know exactly what I mean. They have a different body clock, don't they, youngsters? Very good. Well, we're going to stay here with our lions for a moment or two longer, see what they get up to. Meantime, we're sending over to Scott.
So this hasn't got a lot to do with animals whatsoever, but I really just wanted to highlight the fact that there is beauty all around us, all the time, wherever you are. And sometimes it just like means looking away from the standard stuff and saying, well, what else is out there? Here's a beautiful pattern, absolutely stunning pattern created on the ground over here. And if you look at it, it's like really weird. And all it is simply this single bush, this loose broken bush. It's what we call a dune bush, that's actually just been rolling around up and down over here, creating these stunning patterns. So it just shows there's so much going on here. There's bird tracks there, there's a hare, hare over here, there's a jackal that crossed over there, there's mouse tracks further down that way, there's some what we call tenebrionid beetles just at the back over here. So just in an area like this, there's a myriad different kinds of tracks that one can see. But I just love the fact that you get these gorgeous patterns created by the most simple thing. There's always something to see, always something. Doesn't matter how small the area is. And it's actually quite a fun thing to do sometimes, is when you're not seeing anything, just stop and just look closely. Saika's just saying, it is so beautiful, and I agree with you. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. And very often, I mean, there's even patterns here that I can't even kind of discern exactly what they are. But I mean, they're the most minuscule, tiny little things. There's a pattern over here that I don't even know if the camera will pick it up, but it's like smooth patches interspersed with other like little ridges. Now that could be a leaf or something that landed there, that rolled, blew away again. Who knows? But a patch of sand like this, it's been windswept and then it stayed nice and calm. The weather's calmed down and settled after that. You can get a whole range of other things on here. So these ones here, this is the hare that I was talking about. He actually came in from this side, and then he hopped around out over here. He would have been nibbling on this piece of grass. There's tiny little bite marks over here, and then he turned and he went out that way again. There's a buckspur spider over here. There's doves walking across over here. There's just so many weird and wonderful little things to see on there. I think we should do some fun tracking segments on sand. Sand is actually incredibly difficult to track on in many respects. It's very often very easy to say something walked there. Yeah, sure. Look, something walked there. But very often it's very difficult to determine exactly what the species was walking in this very soft sand.
So this sand in particular is also very difficult to try and find tracks. That's why we're driving nice and slowly at the moment, and we're heading into the direction of where we had those leopard tracks this morning. We're trying to see if we can see tracks of the leopard that might have been crossing the river, but then also trying to see if we can spot it, which is probably even harder than finding the tracks. And I mean, if you look on either side of the river now, it's quite interesting. We've got one side that's completely exposed to the sunlight, and one side which is completely in shade on the left. And so if I was a leopard who wanted to remain cool and remain hidden, the spot on the left hand side would be a lot easier to do so. And so I'm focusing more of my attention scanning up on the banks because of that, just to see if he's not resting down on top of the bank, using the bank as a point of elevation. About 4 days ago, we had a wonderful sighting of the Makoti male exactly in this area. And it will be lovely to see if he's still around. But other than that, we haven't seen too much apart from those elephants a little bit earlier on. One or two nice little kingfishers along the riverbed, but otherwise I think this wind is keeping the birds in the bushes. And just maybe quickly, just to show you for a second, well, I'm doing my best to think like a leopard. I can hardly think as a human at the best of times. But just to show you how much the wind influences this, will this be fine? Further back. Further back, okay. So I'm going to just do this for a second and put my fist down. Just so you can see, that is the freshest track that we have in this area. And so the ridges are still nice and defined. There's some good shadow over it. But if I mimic the wind, so say the wind has been blowing and it blows the sand over it, and we don't have to do it much. Look at how quickly the track just loses definition. And so a track that was formed only a few hours ago could look sometimes a day old. And then eventually, in very, very, very strong winds, the track can completely disappear. And so this is why tracking in big open spaces like this is sometimes quite tricky on a windy day. That's why we're trying to spend as much energy trying to spot this leopard rather than just looking for its tracks. So we are going to keep driving looking for any sign of this leopard, but apparently Steve has already found a big cat for the afternoon. So let's go and see how his sleepy lions are.
Thanks, Eric. We are indeed chilling like a lion. There's a big puddle here. I'm just going to keep quiet so you can listen. The growling. proper puddle of lions. Well, I'm in a bit of a quandary because I have got a lioness directly behind my car, and it's not possible for us to move right now. I'm sure we've had bigger concerns in our lives, haven't we, everybody? A lion traffic jam. So my plan was to go out and to do a quick little medicinal chat, and then to come back when the lions start getting a bit more active. But I think when you leave us next, I'll attempt to try and move and to switch around. I'm going to talk about a wonderful tree and boil it up a bit and drink it. See if BK is willing to taste some. He normally is, he's quite brave. But it's also a tricky one, because you don't know what's going to happen next. These lions could jump up and do something like they did a few moments before, when they all got up and started rubbing each other's heads. Maybe should I do a poll? That's a good idea. We've got two options, or three options I should say, but the one option leads into the other. One option is we stay here with the lions and don't miss anything. Option 2, and that means I do a medicinal chat in the morning. And option 2 is we leave now, go do a quick medicinal chat, come back and catch the lions still active. So, those of you who'd like to participate in our Twitter poll, please vote for A, stay with the lions and don't miss a thing. That's a Bon Jovi song, I think. And do the medicinal in the morning. Or B, go out quickly and come back. Those are the two options, and I'm allowing the audience to answer for us today, and depending on what the poll says, I'll go with that. Fair enough? I think so. Obviously, when I left this morning, I had absolutely no idea we'd found the lions. And that is the way it works on Game Drive. You never know what you might find. Just like the night before, driving around the corner, bumping into wild dogs. So those things just happen. They just happen. And you never know what could happen next. Hello, Peaches. You want to know at what age lions will start to fend for themselves? Well, we generally talk about it being a year, that lion leopard cubs are pretty vulnerable until they reach a year. And then once they reach a year, lions maybe not so much, but leopards can fend for themselves and hunt, survive themselves. Lions obviously will probably do quite well, but they're very social cats, you know. But it's always once these cats reach a year, we're then generally quite happy and confident that they are going to survive. And then they're able to actually do a lot of the work themselves. I'm not saying they're efficient. I'm not saying they're good at what they do, but they can survive. For example, a young 1-year-old lion, 1.5-year-old lion would easily be able to steal kills from hyenas and leopards. Wild dog, they become a scavenger. They might not have honed their skills necessarily very well, but they most certainly will be able to get some food. But before that, the life lessons haven't quite been imparted on them enough, and I'm not saying it's impossible for them to fend for themselves before 1 year, but it is quite difficult. It is quite difficult. And the female cubs will remain in this pride for life. The males will be pushed out at the tender age of 2.5 to 4, depending on what goes on with regards to the new males or who the dominant males are at the time. If the Avocas manage to stay for the next couple of years, which is sort of the average, 3 to 4 years is kind of like a Kruger Park average. I think it's lessened that these days. but the cubs are essentially weaned, and yet they are still suckling. So, oh, the poll is a mixed bag, everybody. So those of you who haven't voted, go and make your votes. Okay, well, while we wait for you to get back to us and tell us what you think we should do, let's go back over to my happiest of friends, Tswalu.
It's like playing a game. Where they're going to come next.
Welcome back to Ngala, and apologies for the loss of audio with Tswalu, but we've just found this beautiful herd of kudus that's walking its way up along the river. And it's really cool because there's a mixture. So we've got a few young females, we've got a feisty young male there, and then one that's slightly smaller on the left. But look what this male's doing. See how he's got his head very low down to the ground? Ah, okay, it's feeding on something. I thought it was maybe sniffing the urine of one of the females. And they just really cool. Hey, got chased off there. This male's being a bully. It's just chasing a few of the females around. He's probably just starting to feel really nice and confident. I mean, those horns are growing. He's starting to feel nice and big. He's still got a long way to go though. I mean, those horns will probably triple, maybe even quadruple in size. It's just really cool to see them because, I mean, usually you don't get to see if kudus, if you're watching kudus, they tend to be out in the deep bushes. So you might just see their heads. You don't really see them like this a lot of the time. But these big males are really cool because they grow quite a fancy beard. And at this age, let's see, this one has only got 2 colors in its beard. So that very white tip and then a almost browny color at the base. But as they get older, that beard will turn into 3, sometimes 4 different layers of color. This one's very active. This group is quite playful, it almost looks like. And see, this one's horns, we get to see it quite nicely now. So it's grown out and gone in, and it looks like it's just about to turn and complete its first circle. And so, I mean, it's got another circle and a half to complete. Louis They do look a little bit like a cross between a zebra and a deer, so it's quite an apt name. But let's have a quick look, because the book that I have has got quite a nice way to age these males. So I hope you managed to have a decent enough look. We've got this little chart over here. And so it's definitely older than 9 months for sure, because the horns have passed the ears. I mentioned that it just started turning. And so it's somewhere, I would say it's somewhere between 17 and 21 months or so. So probably closer to about 20 months, call it maybe 2 years. And then the second male's maybe closer to about 16, 17 months. So that's a cool little chart. And then when they're over 3-4 years old, they're completely in their prime, and they've got those beautiful spiraled horns that everyone loves so much with the kudu. Like that. So let's see if we correct. I mean, have another quick little glance at this, then we'll go over to those two males and see if we can determine their age properly. So there we go. We say in between these two. Let's go see if we correct. So both of them are quite conveniently placed. They're sitting right next to one another, so we can see. I mean, that one on the left-hand side has got really nice big horns. This one in the foreground, see the horns have just passed the ears and have just started turning in. And so I would say, I think we are right. So probably in the region of 16, 17 months, and then the other one probably approaching 2 years old. It's one thing that has absolutely fascinated me, and I've never quite figured it out. Roland, the max number of circles in a kudu's horns when they've reached their prime is never more than 3. So it will always be somewhere in the region of 2 and to 2.5 turns on spirals. So, I mean, once they reach that 2.5 twist, they just start growing bigger and bigger. So I don't think they've ever been recorded with 3 turns in their horns. But that young male, as he picks up his head, look how handsome he is. Those horns are perfectly in line with those ears as he points them out forward like that. And just look at how big those ears are. They're spending lots and lots of time feeding down on the ground. And they typically are browsers, so they often will put their heads into the trees to feed. And down in this riverbed, there's little plants that they seem to be feeding on. There you go. That male's just got a mouthful of plant that he's eaten whole. So they're actually not targeting any of the grass. It's actually a small little plant. It looks like a small succulent of some sort. They always remind me, oh, there's an oxpecker coming to join the party. Just look at the difference in the facial markings between the female on the left and the male on the right. That male's got much, much, much more defined white across the bridge of his nose compared to that female who basically doesn't have any. And I mean, she's an adult, she could be getting old, so I wonder if those white patches are starting to become fainter and fainter. You see, again, that was a slightly nervous reaction from this kudu, and it's probably got to do with exactly what happened with that elephant. You know, maybe just a breeze and the strong wind might have freaked them out. Now, we parked far enough away for them to not feel too concerned about us. So I think Owen and I might wait for the last of the kudus to disappear up into the bank before we continue on. But I think Steve is waiting to show you some lines, so let's go across to him.
Well, come back. Look at that beautiful little paw. Isn't that a splendid little shot? Little toes on the pad. Our puddle of lines is fast asleep. All action dried up. And we find ourselves alone in the sighting at the moment. And I know the poll is still raging about should we go, should we stay? And I don't know what the answer is at the moment, but because there's no one here, there's no one to come back to. So if these lions get up and leave, that's it. They will be gone without an enormous amount of effort to try and find them again. So logic tells me to stay for now. Oh, there's the claws. So 57% of you wonderful people out there on the Twitter poll have agreed I should stay. So if it was going to be on the fence there, due to the fact that there's no one here to watch the lions and see where they go to, we're going to stay. So we'll do it in the morning. I do apologize, everybody, but these things happen. I do have all my stuff with me ready, just so that you know. Plenty of time to do some static plants. I know many of you are quite happy to have seen the Umkuhumas today. BK is actually quite disappointed because he's not going to be with me in the morning, and he really wants to do the medicinal Monday. He's not scared to taste my my decoctions. Some of you out there think it's quite funny. It has become quite a comical thing. Those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, you've got something to look forward to tomorrow morning. But it's very interesting because Chella is obviously the female with the youngest cub here. And we were seeing her cubs around quite strongly in December, January. And so the weaning time of lions is maximum 10 months, so 7 to 9 months. So it's very likely that because Chella is still suckling, it's encouraging the other cubs to still try and suckle from her. And it is one of the things that makes it difficult for lion cub success, is if there are older cubs that can hog the milk of a younger one that needs it from mum. So that's why we're finding a little bit of sort of aggression before, some shouting and some growling from the adults, because no doubt some of them still are suckling a little bit due to the fact that there is a cub. Well, it's very interesting how these hormones work. I'm no expert, but I've seen at least 3 attempts, 2 successful suckles since I've been sitting here, and a 3rd attempt that was greeted with quite a bit of animosity. But everybody, we're going to stay here. Thanks for your poll and your answers, and we're going to send you over to Chish, who's found a small and, well, adorable animal.
We're here at the dam, and these hippos have figured out that playing on an island is super, super cool. Either that or they've decided that they need to get some sun. Oh, there's some hippo action just behind them. I saw a very wide mouth opening, but now it's tucked back down.
Aubrey coming home, Michelle.
That youngster there also came out briefly. Given that it's getting darker and cooler quicker, hippos will actually start to move out of the water earlier than they would ordinarily, because of course they graze on the land. Very few things scare hippos, so it's unlikely that they got scared onto this island. It's most likely that they're just trying to sun themselves a little bit, which is, this type of sun is ideal. It's soft, it's wintry. It's not going to dry their skin out too much. Remember that their skin is very, very sensitive. That picture was really mesmerizing for a second with the solid background of the moving water. I love when they open their mouths. I think it's just very, very cute. Oh, yes, have a seat. Fulton, you say you love these hippos? They're really cute. Hippos truly are. Oh, got a blacksmith lapwing photobombing. Oh, there's a mischief maker of a hippo coming up behind them. I say mischief maker because that's the one that popped onto the island first. It's a littler one. It's not the littlest one that we've seen here. And it's been snapping its jaw all around very, very sweetly. Oh, and now this one's sitting a little like a dog. Gorgeous. They look a little bit tired. Yes. Very tired. Now, I'm going to send you over to Mike. I hope that he hasn't been napping, much like this hippo looks like it's going to do, because he's only coming out now for this afternoon.
No, I have not been napping. We have been trying our hardest to find these elephants that were at our dam earlier at the eco-training camp, and we've managed to find them very, very far away. They've found probably the least palatable part of Pridelands Conservancy to go and snack on, which is interesting. But we found them nonetheless. There is an elephant there, I promise you. It's just very, very well hidden behind those sticks. And so, I am Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert, of course, as always. We are here at Eco-Training Pridelands Conservancy, trying to show you the best of whatever we can find. And these elephants here have been causing us quite a lot of emission. As you can see, we've traveled into some pretty thick bushes, but that's a very large elephant bull who is just coming out for us. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Bull. This elephant has... Oh, I wonder if that is actually... It's a very large bull. It could be Kumo again. I'm not sure. Kumo's got a bit of a wound or like a scar on the front of his trunk there. So when we go a bit closer, we might have a look. Could be. I think it is actually. Anyway, this is a large elephant bull, and there's a whole herd here. It's actually the herd belonging to the elephant who we call Alicia Keys, because she's got a huge keyhole rip in her right ear. So yeah, this bull is probably following this herd in the hopes that maybe there's some mating opportunities. I think it is. There's a wound there right on the front. So you see that? Nice, beautiful. So this is Kumo, the one who had a collar before and managed to shake it off. But look how much larger he is than the other elephants behind him. As he walks out into the open there for us, you see he's a massive elephant. Any one of those bushes is far taller than I am, and there's all the females walking just behind him. Yes, they are a bit further behind, but they are a lot smaller than he is. He's a huge elephant. Catching a bit of shade over there. As you can see, very, very well camouflaged, even these large animals. Often we drive around, I mean, we've been driving around for almost 2 hours now looking for these elephants, and it took us long enough because look how well they can hide. And very quiet as well, considering how big they are. Ooh. Pajama, you've asked how many neck vertebrae an elephant has. That's a good question. And like most mammals, elephants actually have 7 neck vertebrae. We have 7 neck vertebrae. Giraffes have 7 neck vertebrae. Even most mammals. I think the only mammals that don't have 7 might be, I think, manatees. But I stand corrected. I'll have to look that up. But as far as I'm aware, most mammals, let's say 99.9% of them, have 7 vertebrae in the neck. This is a female, so you can see she's a... Is it a female? Oh, I might be wrong. Oh, it's a tough one. Sometimes elephants are quite difficult to tell. It has quite an angular forehead, so it might be a female. I'm going to say it probably is. She also has 7 neck vertebrae. Pajama. Interesting to think, even a giraffe has 7 neck vertebrae. It must be very, very long. I've never actually... I can't say I've ever seen a neck vertebra of a giraffe. Brent says, do elephants even have a neck? I mean, I guess they don't. I mean, they have a neck, yes, but you can't see it. It's super, super hidden behind those ears. You know, when you see bodybuilders and they've got these huge shoulder muscles and they sort of don't look like they have a neck either. Let's think of elephants as bodybuilders. Just huge shoulder muscles blocking off the neck there. I mean, they have to carry that huge head, so they probably do have very strong shoulder muscles and neck muscles. They do have a neck, though, promise you. It's there somewhere. Oh, he's walking straight into the sun. It's very interesting. Elephants often don't like to walk into the sun because their eyes are not very good. They've got quite sensitive vision. And so often at night when, as he always does, reaching up into the trees to try and fetch the tasty green morsels that are high up. More elephants coming into the clearing just behind him. Yeah, they've got very sensitive eyes. Often when we're driving around at night, if we happen to surprise an elephant with our spotlight or with the headlights of the car, we have to quickly switch it off because they usually don't like that very much. They shake their head and they trumpet and they complain. So we know they don't like these bright lights. And often when we're conducting a walking safari, we'll often try and come with the sun at our backs because often the elephants won't be able to see us moving around as long as we don't create a silhouette on a hillside. So it's interesting that they're all feeding into the sun. So these elephants are going to be walking into the trees soon, and I'm going to send you over to Dylan, who's doing the same.
So one of the challenges that these big weaver nests have that we've been seeing, these sociable weaver nests, and in fact the challenge actually lies more with the tree that they build their nest in, is that these nests get to sizes that the branches just cannot handle, and eventually what happens is they break off. And this is exactly what we've got over here, this big section, and I'm a very average kind of person, and you can see the size of this, and this is a small nest for a sociable weaver nest. And you can see that's where it broke off from. That's the colony at the top over there that John Ro's panning to there now. That's all that's left of this. So this whole piece just snapped off and they're not going to use this nest anymore. I've only even really seen them collecting nesting material from an old nest to carry on patching up the existing nest. What I'm loving here though, right where I'm standing here, we've got soft sand, we're on a dune crest over, we've got soft sand all around, but the sand where I'm standing here is actually quite firm. And the reason for that is this accumulation of guano, in other words the bird droppings that were directly under this nest over here. And if you see the sand is quite firm, you can't actually dig in it that easily, and you can see there's a lot of bird droppings inside there. So that's pretty cool. So you just think of the nutrient cycling that's taking place, that these nests are these massive nutrient pumps. And there's a lot of other examples that we can use like it. One of the other notable ones are things like termites that are going down so deep and they're bringing all the soil up from below. So when you get rain and it's leaching nutrients down through the soil layers, termites go down and they actually start bringing that nutrient-rich soil to the surface, and that's what makes termite mounds such good places for plants to grow on. This is kind of working the opposite way around. These birds are starting off a little colony here, but then they're foraging in a large radius, sometimes 700-800 meters away from the nest, as well as collecting nesting material and bringing it back to one spot, and then they're just depositing this mass of nutrients over here. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great spot for plants to grow. It's really, really cool. Those of you who are saying, wow, I can't agree more. It is really, really wow. But as I was saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an ideal spot for plants to grow in. And it may be that some plants can handle those high levels of uric acid better than other species. Or it may just be the fact that once this nest is broken down completely, that's when things will start growing over there. What we do see here, while we're on this nest, is quite fun, and this is just really anecdotal here. You'll see there's a lot of leaves and vegetation that's starting to get trapped underneath there from the wind. So what you'd probably find, that now that you've got this main structure on the ground over here, things can start actually taking root around it, because now it's a little bit sheltered, perhaps a little bit more difficult for animals to get to, which leads us on to another question then. You think, well, here's this haystack. In an environment where there's not that much grass, you've got this huge haystack. Why don't animals eat it? I'm going to show you why right now. I won't come too close. Is that good, Jandre? Okay. So this grass that I've got here, that looks, so there's a big haystack. Tswalu is saying maybe the sociable weavers were just social distancing themselves from. I think, yeah, at least that group decided their mates need to social distance a little bit more, so they just chucked them out. But look at this grass. It literally just crumbles to nothing. The nutrient value of this would be extremely low and probably not worth the effort for an animal to go and feed on a nest like that. But it just shows, and this, I mean, we're scratching the surface on these things, you know. But one thing I've always wondered about is if you're a tree, you're standing there, you're minding your own business. When that first bird lands, that first weaver lands on your branch with that first piece of grass, what must go through your mind? They're like, oh, please no.
What a lovely scene with all these antelope around. Just gorgeous. Now look at this little one. Mom, trying to have something to drink. Mom's just thinking if I don't give it attention, it'll stop pulling at me. Oh, and so fluffy. Just gorgeous. This grass is quite dry, and I can actually hear some of them kind of, not exactly coughing, but you know when you eat something dry and you get a kind of, that's what some of the zebra are doing, which I find quite amusing. And the little foal is like, oh, impala, you're kind of cool, can I be your friend? No, you look different and you're stripy. There's almost a sadness in the eyes. Oh, that was very cute. Mum shook the head and then the little one shook its head too. Just awesome. Now I've been reading, I mean we've been chatting a lot just as guides in general about why zebras have the stripes, and I'm sure you know all the theories, thermoregulation, camouflage and confusion, to prevent pests and parasites, all of that. But I recently got a really nice understanding of how they get their stripes. And looking at this little foal reminds me of that, because this foal is going through it right now. Because as they grow, pigment is stretching across its body. So the adults have stopped producing that pigment now, the melanin that's needed to create those stripes. But this little one, as it grows, needs to continue to produce that melanin. And the way that this happens, the stripy pattern, is through what's called a reaction diffusion system, which is a really, really interesting thing, because one of many things, but something that I'm really interested in is the patterns that we see in nature. And this reaction diffusion system is also known as something called a Turing pattern. And that's because of Alan Turing, who had actually first kind of proposed it in the 1950s. And he was a mathematician, so he wasn't thinking biologically. And then this pattern started to emerge, and this is the exact way that zebras get stripes. And this pattern, like I said, is that reaction diffusion system. And what happens is a protein starts with the melanophores in it, the melanosomes in it. And that's where it starts to create the melanin. And that's the reaction, and that's called an activator. So that protein starts to produce the activator, and it produces the melanin, and then it says, and also make another reactor, and then also stop. So it starts to kind of give a confusing signal to the skin But, so the activator is saying, make more of me, make more of me, make more of me, and then it starts to make this stripe, black stripe of melanin. But then that same activator is also saying, no, but also send out an inhibitor. And then that one catches up and stops it. And then you get a patch of white. And I think that's just amazing. And you see the same thing in sand dunes as well. Essentially, there's an activator and an inhibitor, and the sand dune becomes the inhibitor, and then you get this regular stripy pattern. I just think it is awesome. Really, really cool. Now, I'm sending you somewhere, but I was too busy talking about scientific things. Sorry if I bore you. But I'll send you over to wherever it is that Emma would like to take you.
Something else is the elephants we still have. Still watching them feeding on these very, very sticky, sparse sickle bushes and other spiky things. And we're just wondering if they're going to walk out. There's a beautiful shot of the mountains in the background, and I was really hoping they would come out so that you could all get beautiful screenshots of them as they walk in front of the mountain. They seem to be playing hide and seek with us at the moment. But there's more elephants now coming out into this open. It seems like they're focusing on a lot of these sickle bushes. Remember, we talked before about how elephants do like to eat different types of foods at different times of the year. So right now, all the trees are putting their nutrients inside, underneath the bark, saving it. So there's not too many leaves to eat. And the grass is not so good. We haven't really seen elephants eating too much grass. They seem to be focusing on the sticks, which we've also been focusing on very much. We enjoy the sticks every now and again. Look at that little tip of the trunk. So dexterous. Always find it amazing just to watch them. And elephants that sometimes have, they explore the world with their trunks, and they literally touch and feel everything. It's like having if you've ever had a baby in the house and the babies touch everything, that's how they learn. So elephants exactly the same. They can't see the same way we can see. So touching things and smelling things is just how they explore the whole world. So these two elephants are, you can just see the shadow of a bird that's fluttering around just on the side of that elephant. So as the elephants are breaking the branches and disturbing all those grasses, lots of birds and other creatures are just busy catching anything that they disturb. That looks like a drongo, to be honest. It's often the drongos that are following them. Very, very smart birds. Sometimes we call them the bush policemen, because they seem to always be wherever there's trouble or activity. They never seem to be just sitting doing nothing. They're always wherever there's other birds or predators or big animals moving through the grass, investigating. Master doesn't think didn't know that sticks had a lot of nutritional value. Yeah, Master, it depends on which sticks, I suppose. If they are very dry, tindery sticks that are really dead, then there's not going to be much there. But if it's a stick that's part of a living tree that will grow shoots in the springtime, then you can just imagine all those nutrients and sugars that are literally waiting to burst as soon as the warmth and the sunlight gets just right for the tree to start growing its shoots in the springtime. So it's just waiting. So it's like, I've never really eaten sticks before, but I can imagine it must be like a little bit of a hit of sugarcane. Have you ever eaten sugarcane before? Oh, there you go. Look, it's walking in front of the Drakensbergs. A few sticks in the way, but it is very beautiful. And there's the drongo also joining us. Doesn't want to be left out. As I said, they're always where the action is. Yeah, and especially these twigs and sticks that are here. These are mostly sickle bushes, which are really nutritious. They've got these very feathery-like leaves that are packed full of nutrients. Also quite medicinal. Apparently, if you chew those leaves, and if you've got a wound, like a scrape or a cut, if you chew those leaves and put them onto your skin and cover them up, it acts as a poultice. Helps to stop infections and helps the wound to bind. It's quite interesting. They don't taste very good to me, though, to be fair. But the elephants seem to really enjoy them right now. So whilst these large grey animals continue feeding on this sparse bushes, we'll send you over to some other large grey animals at Phinda.
Well, large grey animals these are. We have got 3 beautiful white rhinos here. Just have a look at this scene. So we've got two big ones in the, well, one big one in the front, which will be the mother, the adult female in the group. It will be her calf at her side, which is already quite old, I would guess. Sure, probably in the region of about close to 2 years old already. Probably 2 years old even. And then probably a satellite calf that is following behind. So what she's done is she's adopted another calf that has already been pushed away from its mother. And that makes all three of these rhinos. How special to see this. You might have noticed now that there's a couple of different colors all over them. And even though they're all the same rhinos, they are just full of mud. So, although it hasn't been hot, often it's when it's hot that they do this, to help them cool down, but it also helps. Yeah, HB, you're right, exactly. One of them went swimming. Yeah, so often it's when they're hot and they need to cool down, but a lot of the time it's also just to put a bit of a coating over their skin to help them to stop biting insects and things getting through. What a beautiful scene, though. Now, the way we can tell these are white rhinos, as we've said before, is that they've got their head down and they are feeding on grass in this open grassland. They've got that big, long, like elongated head, the big square mouth, and feeding on grass, which makes them white rhinos. You can see exactly how they were lying. That one in the middle, the young one, has literally got a mud line on her side. So she was obviously lying in that nice soft mud on the edge of a pan somewhere on her right hand side and probably having a nice snooze. And the mother looks like she definitely went in a bit less, like on her belly. There's quite a bit on her face. Oh no, it looks like it's on her right hand side. So, sorry, her left. So the mother was lying the opposite of the satellite calf on the far left. So what I've seen is actually roll completely around onto their backs to get that mud all over their skin. Oh wow, well, while you looking at it nicely zoomed up on a camera, I've been using binoculars, and while I was looking at that satellite calf, almost in line with it, probably double the distance away, can you see there's like a white thing at the top of the tree? There's a bird at the top of the tree there called a secretary bird. Oh, that is really nice to see. There's actually people on the reserve here looking for secretary birds to do some kind of study on them. So when we finish here, I'll definitely let them know that I've found these ones. I can't see if it's one or two. Looks like two, yeah. Marcel says two. I think it is two as well. And what these secretary birds do, this kind of area that we're in, where you find a white rhino is often exactly the same habitat that you would find these secretary birds. They also like grasslands with long grass because they walk through the grass feeding on snakes or mice and rats that they find, even insects. But I think what they're doing now at the top of the tree there's even a possibility they have a nest up there. They usually nest right at the top of a tree like that. Yes, lime secretary birds are huge. These stand, I don't know the exact height, I'm just trying to picture it while it's walking, but it must be over 1 meter tall when they're walking through the grass. Probably in the region of about 1.2 meters tall, and a really, really big wingspan as well. Well, Well, these rhinos look like they're just happily grazing in the last little bit of light before it gets dark and it goes into nighttime here. And we'll probably leave them to carry on relaxing. Oh, and quickly the secretary bird has just stood up as well. Sorry, random thought. But I just saw him stand up as we were going to go. And back down.
WildEarth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the WildEarth family.
Welcome back to Juma, to our puddle of lions, and one lioness has gotten up and did a bit of the cat stretch, and now she's laid down again. There's still a very gentle breeze. The temperature's dropped quite a bit. And clearly these lions are in no rush to go anywhere. They also probably know that the two big Avoca males are nearby. So they're going to try and pretend to sleep and then just maybe try vanish without them seeing them. The two boys are 30-40 meters on our left-hand side. The whole pride, barring one female, is behind us. They're all just on the right. She's behind us, and lioness behind us is ridge nose, and she's busy licking herself at the moment. You can't see her at the moment because she's right behind the car. So we haven't been able to move. Even if the poll had said, go and do your medicinal Mondays, Steve, and come back, we would have been trapped. Lions are definitely very tactile. Communication in lions is very touchy-feely. Very important for their social behavior. Linda, they have hit the snooze button, indeed. I think they broke it and threw it out the window. No snooze button here. But it's going to happen soon. There's now two lionesses are busy licking, the one who stood up before and the one behind us. And that is positive signs. It all starts with a bit of grooming, a bit of stretching, the toilet break, followed by some movement. Now, Gallagher Pan is directly over where the lions are, probably a kilometre, maybe less. That is where the closest water is. But the wind is coming from our side, from the side of the camera. So where will the lions go to? The wind is coming from sort of the northwest. It's very swirly though. And a cute little face. Not so cute when there's food involved, is there? Nope. Emma says she just wants to boop it on the nose. That would be your last ever booping, Emma. It is quite amazing though how tightly packed they can really be. I mean, their arms over each other, heads on bodies, legs on each other. I suppose legs and arms are the same in the lion world, aren't they? You just got to try to count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 adults in there, tightly packed, and the cubs all sort of sneaking in as well. Nice way to keep yourself warm. It's not what they're looking for at the moment. It hasn't been a very hot day, to be honest. But as soon as they start cooling down, it'll be time for them to move off. But for now, they are sleeping, and we're going to stay here until they get up and do something else.
Welcome back again. And these rhinos are still just slowly moving and feeding, and we actually decided not to go anywhere because they're actually just coming closer, and this is really nice. And we thought it would be really nice to get a nice close view of them, see them really nice and clearly, especially before the light fades, which could happen quite soon. It's also just really amazing when you are close to them like this to see some of the smaller features on them as well. Even just how small their eyes are and how big their ears are. You can see the little horns, you can see the little folds of skin. You can see all the mud caked onto the side of this rhino that's closest to us. Butterfly, they are really, really big animals. Second only to elephants out. Big female just that is really, really big. So they're just disappearing behind these bushes here. Steve's saying this is so soothing. I agree, it is. It's a nice way to end off a day in Africa with a beautiful view out over this area, some amazing animals like rhinos. We've got still those two secretary birds up in the tree that we were talking about just now. Speaking about beautiful landscapes, we're going to send you back across to Dylan, who's got a nice sun-kissed landscape there.
So what we got down there, we got a little group of meerkat burrows. And I'm assuming that from this distance, it could be ground squirrels, it could be yellow mongoose, whatever living in there. But what's interesting, so we're standing on these dune crests, these high points where the roads cross over these dunes, and then we're just scanning these valleys. But when you get a burrow system like that, the beauty of the thing like that, of you don't just drive around aimlessly hoping to find a cheetah. It happens, but if you understand the kind of habits of the animal, what they like, what they don't like, it can really narrow your search field down a bit. And so a burrow system like that is obviously a potential gold mine for something like an African wildcat or a caracal or jackal. So it's often worth observing them from a distance, and you could get something. And you can see how well that technique's worked for me over the past 7 weeks with the amount of wildcats that we've seen at these burrows. Yeah, we haven't seen a single one, but we'll keep trying. We're not going to give up. Don't worry about that. We will get them at some point. Caracal and wildcat, those are my two big ones at the moment for you. And it will be a matter of time. We will find them. Post Spider says, that is pretty. It is beyond pretty. I wish you were all out here with me now, because this is one of the most beautiful landscapes anywhere in the country, I promise. Kalahari is absolutely magical.
if you get to see wildcats, that will be absolutely incredible. Well, I haven't seen wildcats in a long time, but we have moved away from the riverbed now, just to check one or two of these open clearings that I like so much and that you've heard me talking about a lot. And these zebras seem to be on a mission now. They were in the road in front of us and they're walking down the road towards us, and then they've all darted off and they're walking away from us in single file, which tells us that they're trying to get to somewhere. And I wonder where that somewhere is. I would think at this time of day probably they've already had something to drink, so they might just be going to find a spot to settle down in. But I mean, Dylan was saying how wonderful the landscape is. I think our landscape here is also not too shabby. I mean, this lighting is just absolutely beautiful. Zebras in the foreground, making it very picturesque. And the wind is starting to die down, so it's getting very quiet. It's really nice. Gianna, this light is amazing, and we're just about to lose the sun. And so we've only got a little bit left of this light. It just seems to get oranger and oranger by the day. See, it's actually quite a big group of zebras, so I think it's a couple of harems that have decided to join together. And James the other day was wondering about how the zebra herds are doing. HB is asking about the twitchy muscles of the zebra, and it's just to try and keep the flies off of their body. And so they've got several ways of trying to do that. They do a lot of twitching, but then as they're walking, disappearing into the bushes, especially the group on the left that are stopped, look at the tail. And that's another way of them keeping flies off of them. And sometimes they'll actually go head to toe and rest on each other's backs, and having a tail swooping around their nose allows them to keep flies off of their nose as well. And this is probably the last view that we're going to have of the zebra. Once they disappear, I'd love to just quickly show you the landscape that the zebras are facing away from. Again, just a really nice clearing and just a stunning view of the Drakensberg Mountains. It's been such a crisp, clear day today, and so these mountains are really looking nice and defined. And there we go. So there's the sun, and then the mountains off to the left of it. So what we have in view there is quite a famous peak called Mariepskop. Lots of communication towers up there. I think there's an Air Force base somewhere close to there. And what I find amazing is in those mountains is basically completely different habitat. It's all forest. So they get lots more rain than we do. And there are some phenomenal birds that you get to see there. At the very top of the mountains, you got fynbos. Then you get these beautiful forest birds, and then at the bottom you get these typical low-felt birds that you see. So there's three very, very distinct habitats. So it makes birding absolutely phenomenal. If anyone is ever in the area, it's always worth a trip going up to Mariepskop to go and do some birding. So from this point around these clearings, we're going to just sit tight and maybe listen to see if we can hear any nocturnal animals becoming active at this time of day.
Welcome back. We are listening out to some nocturnal animals licking, grooming, moving around in the long grass. The stage is the lion's star. Ooh, there's a big yawn. Okay, so at first, two lionesses were on my right hand side. We're facing to our right hand side, so to the west. Now she's gotten up, turned in the opposite direction, and she's now facing east towards Gallagher. Bless you. Sorry about my head.
Sorry, Steve. That nice chat with Mish. I'm heading northwards. You can just let me know if I should inch a little bit east or west.
I'm just going to talk on the radio real quick, everybody. I'll keep coming, Charles. I've got your audio. All the lions are starting to get up now. Oh, lots of yawns now. Which way are you going to go? You're going to go to Chillapan? Oh, there's a nice stretch. Not Chillapan, Galagopan. Sometimes this happens quite quickly. Some of the leading lionesses will get up, start moving, and it doesn't give the rest much time to do what they normally would do. So that's a question we would all like to know. They go quite far. They go all the way down to Mala Mala. I mean, it's really strange how these lion prides overlap. There's a seasonality to it. We saw it in the Mara quite commonly. How the lions had a territory and then the migration arrived and they just forgot all about that territory. So I'm just trying to guide somebody in and they seem to have trying to listen to where they are. Can you hear them, PK? Charles, I'm sorry, but it sounds like you've gone a bit more north. You need to come a bit more west from where you are.
Copy that.
So the Umkuhumas, they don't really go into Buffelshoek that we've seen lately. Look at them. Oh, they're both enjoying that scratch. Oh, yes. Oh, licking the air. How wonderful. And then they cover some mbili. Oh, that must be amber eyes. Oh, yes. It's most certainly around amber eyes. She growls at all of the cubs. But then they go down to Mala Mala and they cover an enormous area. It is really quite interesting. I need to have a look at some recent maps to see what areas they've been spending a lot of time in. That is just pleasure, isn't it? Absolute pleasure. Okay, so the leading lionesses will often be the ones who start the move. Bless you. And the direction that they're facing in is directly towards. She's such a mean auntie, isn't she? She's got this way with kids. Always that one auntie, isn't there? Okay, well, we're going to stay with the pride. We are not going anywhere.
We have found ourselves in the middle of quite a large herd near Buffelshoek Dam. I was hoping to come up this way and maybe see them having a bit of fun in the water. And it seems like we might have just missed it because they look like they're moving north from Buffelshoek Dam. And then I saw them close to the dam wall, and towards the dam wall side, northern side, and I thought, let me try and go around. And then I realized, whoa, this herd is massive and really spread out. It always amazes me with elephants how you can spot one, or it feels like it takes you a while to spot one, and then you spot it, and then suddenly your eyes become accustomed to it, and then they're all around, and you see the little bits of elephant between the bushes. I find the bush so noisy lately because everything's so dry and it's fairly windy most days. get this gentle rustle. I like it. Does spook me sometimes, but I do like it. Gorgeous, very calm. I'm going to send you to Tswalu. They have something special for you.
So we just happened across this black-backed jackal. It's actually an older animal. The edges of the ears are quite tattered. Now, but across to our left over here, you got this big shepherd's tree. You'll see it there, and that jackal kept on staring in that direction. So I wonder, there could be something else that he's well, there's definitely something else that he's very aware of here. Who knows what it is? It could be anything, but that jackal was certainly on the alert about something in that direction. Now, what is it? That's the million-dollar question there. I think we're just going to amble very, very slowly forward. He's out again. There we go. But again, you see, just standing, staring in that one direction. Yeah. Someone's saying he went to get his slippers. Or his gown. Okay, he's coming out. He's coming out. Oh, I spoke too soon. I'm just going to move forward a fraction. Hold on. Like literally 2 meters. Give us a sec. Okay, maybe not 2, maybe 3-4 meters. A little bit more, okay? So in. You good? Okay, so now I'd be very interested to see. And he keeps on looking in that direction. Okay, what are you hiding down there? I've got a leopard. No, I'm just kidding. Jean-Andre did that to me just now. I just want you all to know the kind of person I'm dealing with here for the past 7 weeks. Like a honey badger has got to be one of my favorite animals. Again, of all my favorites. But we're on the dune crest there, and we're about to come over. Next thing, Jean-Andre, like, dead seriously. Honey badger. I nearly gave myself a whiplash trying to turn around that fast. So, but retribution is sweet. Yeah, so this little jack is very intent on something in that direction there. He's not alarmed or anything, so he's not, it's not like there's a big predator or something down there. Yeah, old Jean-Andre, the missing link, is on my vehicle. I think, yeah. I think I'm just going to amble forward here and just see what else we can get. Kathy has just asked, and my signal broke up there marginally, but I think the question was, do jackals hunt in groups or in packs? There are very, very well documented accounts of groups of 6-7 jackals catching adult male impala. Not on Tswalu, but it's actually on a reserve probably about 260, 270 kilometers away from us, a place called Riverbed. They've actually recorded them chasing impala into thickets and actually catching them in there. So yes, they are capable of it, but typically hunting solitary or in pairs. Oh, no, you are kidding. No. No. Okay, wait, sorry, guys, just bear with me a second. Something ran past in the distance, but far away. Just, sorry, give me a second. I'm not even joking. Okay, there was something there. Okay, what were you? That looked suspiciously like a honey badger. I'm not even kidding. okay, but about 500-600 meters away. It's definitely not. It's another jackal. And, okay, so this is probably exactly what... Sorry about that, by the way. I did get excited there because I couldn't see it properly. But I reckon that this jackal here has probably been keeping tabs on that other jackal in the distance. And that kind of like all making sense now. Because it's now moving... It started moving in the direction of that other one, and now it's just cutting back. So unless there's actually some other kind of kill in this block that they up and down about, I think this is going to be worth spending a little bit of time here. So I know I'm jumping around, but it's my thought process.
Ooh, best of luck, Dylan. Maybe you can sit near a burrow or a hole and wait. It worked for you last time. I love when we're quiet at the right moments. Did you hear that? There's a baby Ellie screaming behind me. Can't see it. I'm actually right at Buffelshoek cut line, so it's over on the Buffelshoek side, but this herd is stretched from Buffelshoek Dam all the way into Buffelshoek, so moving northwards. Really, really gorgeous big herd. Hello, little one. I'm just enjoying sitting with them today. All the elephants I've met today have just been, it's been just peaceful. They've all been so comfortable with us too. Petra, you'd like to know if an Ellie produces sound? Did you hear that one again? If it produces sound with its mouth or its trunk. So the trunk is the nose and the upper lip fused, and it can produce really high-pitched sounds from the trunk, or rather in combination with the trunk, because it still needs air in order to do that. But it also will use its voice or its mouth, and when they make really low frequency, there we go, well done Tishala, low frequency sounds, we call those infrasonic sounds, and even just sounds that are lower on the threshold, then they use their voices, or rather their voice box. So those deep sounds are amazing, and we'll talk about them later, but Ngala has a surprise for you.
We've just managed to find these leopards. There's two of them. There's one slightly bigger and the smaller one in front. This is a mother with her two cubs, so there should actually be a third leopard somewhere around here. It's incredible, and they look like they're walking in quite a mission. So, I mean, we're so lucky that they're walking in an area where it's open enough for us to follow. That one's quite playful, so that one must be one of the youngsters, and then maybe the mother on the right-hand side. I'm actually going to see if I can move again. There's one more clearing. And we can hear lions in the distance. What a way to end the day. Okay, let's move quickly on before we lose them. Sure, so we're not very far at all from where we saw the tracks from this morning. So when we were checking all along the river, I think she might have actually gone up towards the bank. I think this is probably the best way. Christy, I also get very excited when there are leopards around, especially when we've invested time in looking for them this morning and this afternoon. It was with the help of Barney and the two trackers. They basically went to the place where we had the last tracks and they were able to find them right now. They've been tracking for the last hour or so. Thanks. So they are on the left hand side of us. I'd like to just see if we've got a gap. I'm afraid that we might lose them shortly. Okay, here we go. We'll have a beautiful view of them now. There we go. Oh, that's just stunning. Right out in the open. Wow. Oh, it's chasing something. It might be something as small as a scrub hare. But again, that behavior changed completely so quickly. I wonder what caught its interests. And the other one hasn't moved at all. It's still in exactly the same spot. It's now following where the other one went to. I wonder if this isn't the male and the female of the leap. So the two young cubs rather than the mother and the daughter. Let me quickly move forward. If they move in there, we might struggle to get another view, but I said it the other day, any view of a leopard is a good view in my eyes. I can see them. There's one there. Okay, I can hear some birds alarm calling. You might just see them through the gap over there. Snoopies, I'm glad you have enjoyed that leopard sighting as much as I have. I think it might have been a short and sweet sighting. They have ducked off into quite a dense vegetation there. I mean, it's very hard for us to get a vehicle through there. Just the last little bit of movement from one of them. Helen, I think I need to correct myself. I don't think it is one of the mother and one of the cubs. I think it's both cubs, which is quite interesting to see them moving with quite intent. Perhaps they could have been playing and then the mother might have walked a little bit further ahead of them, and so they are slightly behind the mother. But I mean, from this age, they're just over a year old, and to see that height difference between the male and the female, it's quite amazing. So we might try. There's another road that's quite far on the other side. We'll give it a go, wait there for a little bit and see if we get lucky with them popping out. So we're going to drive around that side and hopefully catch up with you soon.
So we figured out what happened over there. So the older jackal that we saw initially, he was watching down in those thickets, couldn't figure it out. And then we saw that other one that I mistook for a honey badger. So it turns out that although he couldn't see that other jackal, the wind was pushing from that other jackal directly to that older one. And then that one popped out. And now this older guy, he's just literally going on the scent. He's actually down ahead of ahead of us along the road. He's just crossed to the right. But he's following very, very closely on that other jackal scent the entire way. It's just amazing how incredibly attuned their senses are and how sharp those senses are. So I don't think there was any kills or anything going on there. In hindsight, you see what goes on. Alan says he calls this meerkat driving. I think a meerkat would drive better than I would. So this jackal crossed over here in this area here. Just incredible the distances these animals cover as well. You don't think about it, but that slow trot just covers an immense amount of ground and using relatively little energy. And I love all these little interactions going on all the time, eh? So it's not just about seeing a lion catching something, or it's all these smaller things, and sometimes you can't get the whole part or a whole piece of the puzzle. You know, it's all the he's on the right here now. There you go. Well done, well done. There he is. So this is the guy that we saw initially, and he's just constantly moving across us. Lion ate my mum. I love that name. But Lion ate my mum has just asked, are jackals territorial? Very, very, very much so. But it's a lot more complicated than that. So when food resources are scarce, and they're kind of like eking out a existence in these landscapes, they become super, super, super aggressive towards other jackals. And but what you'll find is that if you get a large food resource available, let's say there's a dead elephant or a dead buffalo or a dead giraffe or whatever in a jackal's territory, okay, they actually tolerate other jackal moving through their territory, and this can go for 15, 20 kilometers out, literally. I mean, they can come in from a massive distance away, a long distance away, and they'll actually congregate at that kill. And the thinking there is pretty straightforward. Imagine you've got a tiny kill, let's say it's an impala, you've got a small kill, and you get 10 other jackal coming in. Well, of course you're going to try to defend it because it's a small kill. It makes more sense, you know, if you sit back and try and nibble meek and mildly at the back, that kill is going to be gone in a heartbeat, and you, the one as a territory owner, that's going to be having the shortfall. But if you've got a big carcass, there's plenty of meat. Why bother wasting energy trying to chase the other jackals away? It doesn't make sense. So there's some really, really good work being done by a friend of mine over many years up in Prrivate Game Reserve, and he's, you know, on the work that he does jackal, he like, you see these maps that he's got of jackal just cruising through other jackal territories, like making a beeline. They go to the kill and then they just wind their way back again on these larger kills. So that's a really good question. Mum ate my lion, or lion ate my mum. I really like that name. Yeah. So this jackal's trotted off.
Welcome back to the Pride on the Move, everybody. We are in Juma, and we have got the Umkuhumas, and they are headed right now directly for Gallagher-Pan. So I've just positioned myself on what I think is going to be a game path. They're going to walk either to my right, or they're going to turn in front of the car now. Creatures of habit. Yes, right in front of the car. Terrified, everybody. How wonderful is this? How wonderful are we? Hello, lions. Got them all coming over here. Beautiful. Okay, so as they one by one move past, it's always nice to try and get up ahead of them if you can. Just switch off, because when they're going to go drink, they also potentially hunt along the way. If there's any animal sort of hanging around, anything like that, it's potential that they might try catch it. So as they're walking, they're busy sniffing and sniffing. And like over there, they've all stopped again because they know that other animals might be hanging around the water. You'll notice that most animals come to drink sort of in the early to late afternoon, and then by this time they're out in the open areas where they feel far safer. Okay, so as we watch them go, I'm going to quickly just start up and zoom around so we can get them coming down to the water to have a drink. That is essentially where they're going. That's what you learn with animals. Their movements. Where are they going? If you know where the pan is... Oh, that was a terrible turning circle. So I'm going to turn now, eventually, aim towards the pan, and go watch some lions have a drink.
Ooh, best of luck. Hopefully we'll get to see them drinking, which would be awesome. As you can see, I've got my spotlight out, which could only mean one thing, that I'm looking for leopards, obviously. And perhaps another little critter that I could find in the evening. Also, I wanted to show Niels my favorite jackalberry on the property. And it is on this road. It is one that I always hope to find a leopard in. Always. Every single time I look at it and I think, oh, if only there was a leopard in it. And I remember not too long ago that Tristan had come to look at this tree. And he even said, this is the envy of every guide, because Columba was sitting in the most spectacular jackalberry on this property. It's like a multi-story house for a leopard. It is. See, Emma already knows it. Here it is, everybody. The magnificent jackalberry on Gowrie Cutline. It is humongous. And there's so many solid branches all over it. This makes me feel like I could build many tree houses in this tree. But alas, no leopard. I'm going to move across the dam wall in a bit and then up towards Twin Dams and Quarantine. Things seem to be happening around that time, around there at this time. So I'm going to head out and I'll send you to Steve.
If you could hear the boys calling a moment ago. Here is the Umkuhuma puddle of lions having a drink. Now, the light has gone quite low, so we're in the infrared. No lights with the cubs. There's infrared, and there we have got some very thirsty cats. Those of you who are unfamiliar with infrared, this is an infrared spectrum, which means it's not affecting the eyesight at all. Very different wavelengths of light enables us to pick up these animals in very low light frequencies. Walk past towards Gowrie Dam, past Waterhole Lodge. The whole pride is going to follow. This is good. I had thought that if they'd walked the other way, they would have gone back towards Mbambili Arathusa side, but they're now walking into the heart of Juma, and they're on the move. How exciting. Outside I could hear the blacksmith lapwing, that very high-pitched metallic sound. I would also be quite distraught if a pride of this mini lions came sauntering on to where I was just having a very nice chill moments before. Look at that boy. That's one of the boys. Look how big he's gotten. Incredible, isn't it, how quickly they grow. They've all become little lions now. Thirsty little lions. So what you can see is actually infrared light bouncing off of the water onto the lion's body. Quite incredible. I really don't know the depth of all that. But it's magnificent to see in the darkness. He's going to suddenly get a fright and realize he's the only one there. Oopsie. Enjoy, that was amazing. How about everybody? A one-word tweet on how it makes you feel to watch a massive pride of lions come down and drink, lapping up the water, scaring the life out of poor little lapwing. He's like, I can still see them. I can still see them. Let me go. Quickly now. No, one more drink. No. There we go. No, I'm done. I'm going to run now. Indeed, look, it's like, don't leave. Clear colours. Let's move, everybody. Stuck in bed. Great, Phil. Ladsy. Oh, now they're going in that game path. Not possible to follow them through there. While we try to get into another view for the lions, Few send you over to another wonderful image.
I can't believe it, like in the dying minutes of the game we get this herd of buffalo coming over this dune crest with that backlight. It is just gorgeous. It's actually a group of bulls, some younger ones, but then some very, very old bulls. This one's just horning that bush, scratching its head on that bush. At our research center, some of the trees that we got there take a real hammering because the buffalo often come sleep there at night. And they do this exact same thing that this buffalo is doing on the small bush, but they do it on the bigger trees there. Yes, and it's... Look how beautiful this is, eh? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Difficult to find words to describe things like that, eh? Yeah. It's just like... Painter Girl says the best screenshot of the day, and I am 100% with you on that. It is just gorgeous. I think, okay, sorry, I know this is like a lot of panning, but you guys have got to look at the setting and look at what we've got here. This is drop dead gorgeous on every level you can hope to imagine. Eh? And that is my home. That's where we live. Look at that, eh? Yeah. Not too shabby, eh? And just so much to explore, eh? So much to explore and learn and try and understand. We'll never understand it. There's just, I mean, the complexities of these systems are just way beyond many, many, many lifetimes, but it's very fun trying. And hence all the research that we do.
you probably didn't even realize, because the landscape is so beautiful at Tswalu, but it did get stuck there. Now, we have heard some growly / roary sounds, not in the location that Steve is with the Umkuhumas. It sounded as if it was towards Buffalo's cut line. So we're heading in that direction right now. To me it sounded like a lion, but then it didn't sound very far. Jenna, you say you thought I was gonna say last minute chameleon? I have, like my chameleon friends, I have one eye looking for the potential cat and one eye looking for my mate, the chameleon. A last minute of either would be fantastic. Ooh, the wind is a little bit warm, which is pleasant, I must say. I feel like my first day will not be complete without finding a chameleon. I did see a scrub hare though. Scrub hares are kind of being replaced by my chameleon obsession. Okay, let's get to the top of this road and towards a fire break, and let's switch off and listen again, see if you can hear what I heard. Jimmy, you'd like to know if we have any top chameleon finding tips? Well, there's nothing like a triple T, is there? Trish's top tips. Can you believe I come up with these things on the spot? Unbelievable. Okay, let's give us a moment to listen, see if we hear anything valuable. Not hearing anything just yet. We're going to go along the fire break, back down Gari cut line, try again because it sounded like it was in this block. Okay, Jimmy. Top tips for finding chameleons. Keep your eyes peeled. Persevere. And all you have to do is find one once. When you find it once, your eyes know what to look for suddenly. And then you start to see them everywhere. The most defining feature of recognizing that it's something that shouldn't be on a tree or something that's not part of the tree is that it's a solid color for larger than what should be on that tree. So for example, some trees might have big leaves that are the size of a chameleon, but they sit differently. So once you're familiar with the way that a tree looks, which, believe it or not, you are just by existing and seeing trees your whole life, it doesn't have to be a specialized skill. You will notice when something is solid. Where are you? I saw you. Not sure what I saw, but it was cat-like. Come on. I saw its eyes. It almost looked like the size of a wildcat. Hold on, hold on. Come on, I saw you. Let's check back in. Oh, hi, Bacon. You say, wee, that was fun. I am glad. I'm a fan of thrill rides myself. Maybe I'm having the wrong attitude. Instead of trying to be forceful, I should say, come, kitty, kitty, come. It is not you. There's a scrub hair here, and it was not the scrub hair. It was very low. Well, that was fun, right? Very fun. Well, I'll call you right back if I do find what it was. Felt like a wildcat. Almost felt... Anyway, let me send you over the lines for the last few minutes of show, unless I find whatever it is.
Thanks, Trish. Well, Trish does get excited, doesn't she? I don't know what's going on with these lions here. They're very excited about something behind the stump. Don't know what it is. Growling, making noises. Remember, we are in infrared, so I cannot see the lions without looking at the screen. But I can certainly hear them. I hope you've had a wonderful afternoon with us, everybody. We've thoroughly enjoyed bringing you wild images from the African wilderness. We look forward to joining you again in the morning, or you joining us from all of our locations. Thank you for your questions, comments, and all of your interaction. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning from all the locations, guides, cameramen, and final control. We thank you. Until tomorrow, good night and goodbye.